Hello, today I want to share a story with you about two remarkable men that I met a long time ago. One was when I lived in Canada working in a warehouse, and the other was a customer I had in my cab probably about 7 years ago. Now, this one guy, I'll just call him Steve, was a white male about, let's say, 29 to 32 years of age. He was tall, thin. He had prominent nose. He had an overbite. He just was thin and wasn't very attractive. But he told me something that I never forgot. He told me that whenever he would approach a woman, he would not worry about what he looked like. He only worried about what he wanted. So when he asked the woman out on a date, he wouldn't say to the woman, for example, do you want to go out? He would say, I want to take you out. Are you available Thursday or Friday? If the person said, not Thursday, but Friday will be fine, then he knew that he had the date. If the person said neither, then he would just move on. He wasn't worrying about trying to persuade somebody. He just wanted to make sure that he gave them an option. Now, he told me also that when he went out on a date with a woman, that he wasn't into waiting for things. He went in for the first kiss. He was very aggressive about being there in a sexual way, and I'm not going to talk about that. He made a few jokes, like one time he said that the woman he was on a date with, they went back to his apartment, and he said, I got to go to the bathroom, and he came back out, he was totally naked. So again, that's something that I wouldn't recommend, but I found it kind of funny. But his attitude was correct. When he wanted to date somebody, he wasn't playing games. He didn't say to the person, oh, do you like me? Do you want to go out with me? He simply stated a fact that he liked the person, and they had to deal with that. He was being not necessarily aggressive, but he was being confident. And people nowadays don't have the confidence. We think that when you meet somebody, they really don't want to be with you. You need to persuade them. You need to convince them against their first thought that they should go out with you because they didn't really want to. You need to use technique or persuasion. He simply met somebody. He felt the vibes. He felt the time was right to ask for the date. And he said, I want to take you out. Do you want to go out Thursday or Friday? And if you really liked the person, if they would say, well, I'm not available Thursday or Friday, he would say, okay, how about Saturday? And he would have waited until they would say, I don't want to go out with you. But in his case, he always, at least when he told me, he always got the date. Now, again, I could have told the guy, you're full of hooey, and you probably just make up stories. But that Christmas, we had a company dance, a Christmas dance. And he brought a very pretty girl as his date. So I guess what he had to say was true. Now, the other person I met was he was an airline pilot, and I picked him up in my cab one afternoon, and he comes out. He too was a thin Caucasian male, just average looks. He wore glasses, and when he came out, he said, you know what? You're probably hungry, right? Let's go have some lunch. I'll pay for it. I said, hey, what the heck? Free meal. So I took him down to a restaurant, and we went inside, and he was in his 30s. And he told me he was an airline pilot. We were talking about the job. And when the girl came out to serve us, she was, the waitress, she was very pretty. She was about, I believe, 19 years old. And he said, wow, he said, you're really cute, So he talked about what he wanted to eat. Then when she came back, he said, you know what? I got to take you out. Give me your number. Now, I would assume that the fact this guy is not too attractive, he's older, she would say, no way, I already got a boyfriend. No, she gave him the phone number. He got the phone number. Then it was time for us to leave, so I put him into the cab. We were driving, and he sees this girl in this sports car. It was like a Corvette. It was a like a blue or gray type Corvette. It was a blonde woman. He said, well, that's a nice car. So we were driving behind the car, and the light turned red. He said, I'll right back. He got out of the cab, ran up to the girl in the car, They spoke for a little bit. They came back and he said, I got her phone number. I couldn't believe it. Then, we were driving a little bit further, and she was still ahead of us in traffic, and he said, let me make a phone call. He called her on the phone, and he said, hey, want to have a drink? And she said, sure. So I stopped the cab. He got out, got into the car with her, and took off. And I was amazed. Again, this was an attractive girl. I saw her, nice car. This guy just came up, and he asked her for phone number, and then he had a date. Now, again, what are the secrets of the success of these two gentlemen? One is they had a direct purpose in mind. They had a clear goal of what they wanted, and they went for it. Now, a lot of times people have ideas, and they say, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this big thing, or I'm going to go for this particular goal, and they talk themselves out of it because they think it doesn't make any sense. Why should anyone want to hire me to do this job when they can hire someone else who's older, has more experience, or whatever the case may be? If that were the case, we wouldn't have people like Bruce Lee, who was the first Asian superstar in the world back in 1973, when most Asians couldn't get a job in Hollywood other than being a cook. So, again, he had this tenacity about himself, and he was able to do it. How about Barack Obama? Whether you like him or not, he had the audacity to step out and say, I'm going to become President of the United States, even though there were no other black men ever President of the United States. And him having a name like Barack Hussein Obama, he figured, no way. He stepped to the arena and said, let me become president. He said, what's your name? Barack Hussein Obama. Okay, next. But he knew what he wanted, and he went for it. And so, just like my two friends in these examples I gave you were able to see what they wanted, and they went for it, you should feel the same way about what you're going for. You see, a lot of times you have a goal, you have something that you're going for, and you talk yourself out because you say to yourself, I'm not worthy of this goal. I'm not worthy of this thing that I'm looking for. But what happens if you do? What happens if you step out of your own, get out of your way, step out of your own discomfort and say, you know what, that's what I want because that's what I deserve. That's what's going to make it better. That's going to work for you. And so when I saw, especially the second guy, I realized, you know what, this world is just a crazy dream. It's a crazy place. We can make this world whatever we want to be by our own volition. If we choose to become what we want to be, we can do it. There are some examples that you can see in your own life, from people who you know or people you've heard of or read about or whatever it is in history or even in the present. There are people who are doing the things that they want to do because they feel that it must be done and they want to do it. They don't ask permission, they simply go for it. Why are we having YouTube or Facebook or all the things that we have in this world, like Microsoft, Dell Computer, Apple, the things that they have to offer? Because someone said, you know what, I want to put this out there. I want to do this. I want to become, I want to give, I want to contribute. It doesn't matter what my circumstances was. If I'm not intelligent enough, if I'm not rich enough, if I'm too old, if I'm too young, if I'm not attractive enough, if I'm too pretty, whatever the case may be, people do what they intend to do regardless of the evidence to the contrary. Because just going back to my first example, a guy who's tall, thin, has a big nose and an overbite, you figure he can never get a pretty girl to date him. But yet still this guy did it. A pilot in his 30s could ask a 19-year-old girl out on a date, and she would say, no way, I already got a boyfriend. I'm not going to date a guy like you. You're too old. He did it. They did it. A black president, a Chinese superstar back in the 70s. These people did it. That's what I tell you. This world is a place where things happen that are not just scripted. Because think about it. You couldn't write something better than that. This would be something that someone would say, that's impossible. No way that would even make any sense. But that's the way the world is. The world is full of things that are just so incredible, so fanciful, that if you can step out of your own doubt and do it, then you can be it. So think about that. Think about the crazy dreams that you have, the crazy things that are so crazy, no one even write a book about it, and go out and do it. Become who you want to be, do what you want to do, because you have that feeling in your heart, and the confidence that comes from action is so much of a reward that you'll do it again and again and again. So next time, this is John, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.